California, Governor Gavin Newsom taking another jab in the social media war over President Trump's redistricting plan, this time with a post that certainly seems to be a parody of the president's own online style, including all caps. Take a look at this. Donald Trump, this is what the governor's press office writes. The lowest polling president in recent history. This is your second to last warning. The next one is the last one. Stand down now or California will counterstrike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thanks for your attention to this matter. Now, Democrats are gearing up for a nationwide weekend protest over Texas' new congressional map. Former Attorney General of the U.S., Eric Holder, who worked for Barack Obama, set to huddle with House Democrats on legal strategies as similar redistricting battles take shape in Florida, Indiana, and Missouri. Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Laura Friedman. Congressmember, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Obviously, a lot of Democrats in this state support this idea of countering what Texas does after, for years, backing the idea of independent redistricting. You know, as kids were told, two wrongs don't make a right. Why is this the right thing to do?
I think it's important that California acts to balance the scales. You know, if the Republicans' policies were so popular, they wouldn't have to do this. But just like 5 years ago, Trump called Georgia and said, "Find me more votes," he called Texas and he said, "Find me more seats." And so they're going back and they are redistricting right before the election, not after the census like everybody does, but right now, because they are so worried that because their policies are unpopular, they're going to lose the House. If they're willing to I'm not going to say cheat, but to go as far as they can to rig the system, California has a responsibility to respond, not just for California, but to make sure that voters have their wishes met, which is having elections that represent the people, something that these gerrymandered Republican states are hell-bent on preventing.
But what does that look like here? Does that mean no Republican districts here? I mean, what do you think is fair? Because an election that represents the people would be a competitive election where people's voices really matter.
So let's be clear that California and several other blue states have a truly independent commission that does not get input from elected officials. California's redistricting commission is made up of half Republicans, half Democrats, and one independent. And I can tell you, as someone that was affected by this commission a few years ago and almost had to run against one of my Democratic colleagues who ended up dropping out of the legislature and not running again, we do not have input. Other states, all Republican states, have completely gerrymandered maps where the legislature creates the maps with input from their congressional delegation. They think of nothing of dividing up cities like Austin, Texas, to distill the votes of the people who live there if they feel that they're not going to vote Republican. Only Democratic states have independent commissions. No Republican states have independent commissions. So we are operating on unequal playing fields. So Texas trying to rig the system midstream has to be responded to. It's to actually protect the voices of voters. So in California, we are going to abide by our values, which means upholding the Voting Rights Act and making sure that anything that's done does not break up the voices of Voting Rights Act communities, of Latino communities, of API communities. We're going to make sure that we do continue the mandate of the independent commission and live those values. Other states, the Republican states, they don't think anything of that, which is why their maps are constantly struck down and challenged in court. Yeah. In terms of what the actual maps will look like, I don't know, but I am willing to make my district more Republican if it means balancing again those scales of what Texas is doing.
Which is the thought of some of this, that people in very Democratic districts like yours could end up taking on more Republicans so that some of these other competitive seats become more Democratic. Okay, there's a lot we can get into there, but we want to get into another topic from today as well. You were out at Project Angel Food, which is this extraordinary organization that serves some of Southern California's most vulnerable. It started really during the HIV/AIDS crisis as a way to create medically tailored meals for people in need. For many of them, this is their only way to eat. This is some video from their kitchen. We've profiled them several times. You were out at their new campus that's being built today, and they're really going to be impacted by a big way from what's described by President Trump as the big beautiful bill. What does it mean for a place like Project Angel Food?
So Project Angel Food serves 1.5 million medically tailored meals a year for people with serious illnesses, for seniors, for people who can't afford this food themselves, who can't get these meals themselves. And that means that they stay healthier, they learn to cook appropriate meals for themselves, and they stay out of emergency rooms. Trump has already cut over $500,000 in federal support for this nonprofit alone. And I'm hearing this from every nonprofit. They are all getting deep, deep cuts. And these are basic social safety net groups that provide housing help, groups that provide meals for children and for seniors. And they're all seeing their budgets slashed by the Trump budget cuts so that they can give tax breaks to billionaires and large corporations. So these groups are going to struggle. And it's, we're looking at them losing perhaps over 600,000 meals a year, capability of serving 600,000 meals to people here in Los Angeles who rely on those meals. And people might think there's a backstop for all of this, but there is not. As these cuts come down the pike, we may see hunger. We may see seniors having to eat out of dog food cans. Hopefully that's not what's going to happen, but that's what these cuts risk.
Yeah, we have seen so many generous donors to Project Angel Food over the years, which is part of the reason you're seeing this construction out there. But there's a limit to that, and the federal government can spend way more than anybody else based off of that.
Yeah, look, I think that the role of the federal government is to protect the safety and the well-being of its citizens. And what could be more basic than that, than giving meals to seniors who desperately need them, whether it's a 90-year-old living by herself. These are people that work their whole lives, raise families. Many of them are alone now, and we should be taking care of them. And it's really a shame to see these cuts really pull the rug out from under these folks.
Laura Friedman, thank you so much for joining us, Democratic Congress member. Appreciate your perspective.
Thank you, Alex.